Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, we're going to be talking about the Hellenistic division of 4 of the planets into the category of benefics and malefics. Hi, I'm Charlie Starr. The video you are about to watch is part of my free course, How to Read a Birth Chart. And now, back to this video. This is a very black and white dichotomy that essentially says that Saturn and Mars are the planets that brings the most hardship and the most difficulty into your life. And Jupiter and Venus are the benefics that are going to bring the most good, the most blessing, the most enjoyable things into your life. So we're going to take a look at why this is something that has validity to it. And then we're also going to look more thoroughly into the actions that the planets take in our lives, particularly that they take repeatedly in the birth chart. So that will give you a better idea of what kinds of actions, what kind of expression these planets have, and then you will be able to see why some of these planets are considered malefics and why some of these planets are considered benefics and why there are exceptions to this perspective. The actions of Mars. Mars is considered a malefic, but what does Mars do in the birth chart? What are some of the actions we can expect from Mars? The primary action of Mars is cutting, severing, burning, destroying in a flash. Okay, so this is not a slow destroying, but this is like literally burning, something going up in flames. This is a passionate act, acts of passion, crime, trauma. This is defense and attack. So offense and defense. This is explosion of energy, of emotion, of passion. This is inflammation. This is accidents. So this is why you can see very clearly why Mars is considered a malefic, because sometimes Mars can indicate acute pain, trauma, and things of this nature. So these are things that in general we don't enjoy, but Mars can also be good things as well. So sometimes we need to stand up and defend ourselves, and this can be somebody finally giving themselves a voice. This can be also somebody creating boundaries, cutting ties with situations that are toxic for them. So there are positive ways that this can look. This can be us finally finding our energy and our passion, because Mars also is our lifeblood. And so sometimes we need passion and we want a heavy level of passion and energy and drive for the world around us. Okay, so a lack of Mars is a lack of will to live. Okay, so we need Mars, and we need Mars's expressions and transits in our lives, even though there are sometimes very acutely painful and hot things that Mars can bring into our life. The second malefic is Saturn. Saturn is a planet that brings into our lives boundaries, restrictions. Saturn often says no to things in the birth chart when it aspects those things, particularly in squares or oppositions. Saturn will delay the rewards for things, so things may take longer than we want. Saturn brings up the results of our karmic patterns and behaviors, and sometimes those are very difficult and unforgiving to deal with. Sometimes these are patterns that we're bringing from past lives as well. So sometimes early on, Saturn will bring hardships, suffering into our lives. Saturn can represent illness. Saturn can represent suffering. Saturn can also represent somebody who is older than us, wiser than us, somebody who comes in the form of a discipline. Saturn can come in the form of giving structure to our lives. Saturn transits can be somebody who is our wise teacher coming into our lives and creating the stability that we need and the lessons that we need in our lives. And sometimes those lessons are not pleasant, but other times they are really, really welcome. So, I mean, Saturn also brings the reward. So consequences are not always painful. Consequences of good things that we've done and things that we have put in a lot of work towards, Saturn is going to give us rewards for that. So this can be a long and happy relationship. This can be having a decent retirement. This can us be really achieving goals that we really want, that we've worked hard for, that we are now getting the reward for. So Saturn does not always bring difficult things, but in a lot of cases, Saturn does bring very difficult things, especially by saying no, by saying wait, and by saying don't do it that way. You're not going to have any success doing it that way. You have to try it differently. Now let's talk about Venus. Venus is our first benefic. Venus, what does Venus do in the chart? Venus brings together. That's the primary thing that Venus does, is attract. Venus, the opposite of Mars, is going to, instead of cutting and bringing heat, Venus is going to cool, sweeten, and bring together. So wherever Venus touches, there may be an element of attraction. There may be an element of pleasure. Venus will definitely make things sweeter in your life. And Venus is going to bring you together with people. So Venus is a matchmaker in that way. Venus harmonizes things and make things sound and feel good. Venus has to do with sensuality and also with resources and luxury. So Venus will definitely bring some of the more enjoyable aspects of living to your life. So based on where Venus is in your chart and how Venus is doing, that's going to be based on conditions and dignities, which we'll get into in the next video. This is going to talk about where and how Venus is bringing those things into your life. But let's not forget that Venus can also bring painful things. So unrequited love is one of the things that Venus can bring, which can be unpleasant because Venus is a planet of desire. And when you're desiring something you can't have, we can suffer rejection. We can suffer jealousy, envy. We can feel betrayed here as lovers. Basically, we're not getting what we want. This can be painful, right? So especially when things are aspecting Venus in a negative way, then that can really do detriment to what Venus is trying to do by saying no to resources, saying no to love, causing tension in our relationships that are not harmonious. But Venus being involved is just bringing those topics, but she's not always able to make things go smoothly. So that's something to keep in mind as well. That, like I've had Venus transits that didn't go so well. And it just depends how Venus is doing. So we'll get into that in the next video. Okay, and then the second and the last benefic is Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet of expansion, hope, belief, faith, optimism, sometimes bringing good luck and bringing things to us that we didn't necessarily earn, because Jupiter is entrusting us with an opportunity. So Jupiter is kind of like the parent or step parent that we all need in our lives, that gives us something because they want us to succeed and they're believing in us. So that is where Jupiter gets his reputation as a benefic. But just like Venus, it kind of depends where Jupiter is in our chart. And it also depends on our own actions that we're taking. Because Jupiter is the planet of expansion and breaking down boundaries. That's going to happen sometimes indiscriminately. So this can be somebody indulging too much in food, in drink, in drugs. This can be somebody not knowing how to have boundaries. So what are the main things that Jupiter does in a chart? Jupiter expands. Expansion is generally good, but it doesn't always mean good, right? There's not everything that we want to expand. Only the things that we want are the things that we want to expand. Jupiter will expand anything. Jupiter will blow up and increase anything. So increase we generally think of as good, but I mean, if you have a cancer tumor, you don't want that to increase. And Jupiter, just in the birth chart, will always increase and expand. Jupiter will break down boundaries, and sometimes those boundaries are needed. So even though most of the time Jupiter brings good things, we do have to keep in mind that this is not true indiscriminately. In Hellenistic astrology, there is a delineation that lets you know what is your greatest benefic and what is your greatest malefic, meaning that everybody has Saturn and Mars somewhere in their chart, but which one can you expect to cause the most challenges in your life? The same of the benefics. Everybody has Jupiter and Venus somewhere in their chart, but which one can you expect to bring the most good things in your life? That's going to be your greatest benefic. So how can you tell which one is your greatest benefic and which one is your greatest malefic? Well, primarily it comes down to if you were born at night, then that means that Venus is your greatest benefic, and it's also going to mean that Saturn is your worst or greatest malefic. If you were born during the day, then it's going to be the opposite of that. So Mars is going to be your most challenging malefic, and Jupiter is going to be your greatest benefic. As a basic delineation, that's the way that it works, and it's based on the fact that so Venus and Mars are considered on the moon's team, and then also Saturn and Jupiter, they're part of the sun's team. If you're born at night or if you're born at day, if you're not sure what time, if you were born during the day or during the night, if you have your chart pulled up, it's going to be if your sun is below the ascendant and the descendant at the bottom half of the chart, then you were born at night, and that's a night chart. And if you were born with the sun above this descendant and ascendant at the top half of the chart, then you were born during the day.
Okay, so in this example, I just wanted to kind of show you guys. So this is a night chart because this person's sun, which is right here, is below the horizon. Here's the ascendant, and then the descendant is going to be over here at 2 degrees of Virgo because their ascendant's at 2 degrees of Pisces. So their sun is below the horizon, so this is a night chart. So then we can say, following the rule, we have, if you were born at night, that means that Venus is your greatest benefic, so here's Venus, and then Saturn is your greatest or most challenging malefic, and so here's Saturn. All right, and in this chart, we have the person was born during the day because their sun is up here above the ascendant and descendant at the top half of the chart, so we know that the person's greatest benefic is going to be Jupiter. So where's Jupiter? Jupiter is right here. Jupiter is going to bring the best parts of their life, and then also their greatest malefic is going to be Mars, and Mars is right there. So Mars is going to bring the most challenges and hardships into their life.
Okay, and that's it for the malefics and the benefics. In the next video, we'll be talking about the dignities that tell us how different planets are doing in different signs. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video.